When I spit bars in a rave, man, I go hard like Santan.
Hello and welcome to a special episode of Kop End Fracas on the Touchline Fracas network. I'm your host Fahi. So, Krish, how you feeling?
I'm beyond excited right now.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good stuff. Julian, how do you feel?
I am completely starry-eyed, gassed, happy. So many words that I can't put into. I can't say right now.
Do you want to explain
Yes.
what you said previously about our guest who's on the show today?
Yeah, as you may not know, Heskey, you are actually the reason why I support Liverpool. That DJ celebration was when I was a kid. Obviously, I didn't know football then because when you was playing, I was like, maybe 5-6 years old. So I didn't know what football was, but I was like, that Heskey celebration, that's why I'm supporting Liverpool. And my mum, but that's why I'm supporting Liverpool. So I'm so happy that you're on the pod.
Nice.
Harold, how you doing, sir?
Well, I can't lie to you. I was all right before, but I'm feeling better now. I got my childhood in front of me. I'm feeling good, man.
Nostalgia, yeah?
Yeah, a lot of that, especially my dad as well. My dad used to sing your praises all the time. He used to do this around the house. I was like, what's going on? So, yeah, man.
I didn't, the funny thing is I didn't even realise how big that DJ celebration was.
Massive.
It was huge.
Massive. In the playground, Emile, we were doing that all the time.
You had a generation on lock. I was there, local.
I'm still mad at Peter Crouch for stealing your shine, to be honest with you, with the celebration, because you've got the GOAT celebration. It's not even a debate.
Thank you.
Ellis, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right, man. At first, I was going to play it off cool with that. Then I saw Heskey. I was like, whoa.
All right, cool. So if our listeners don't know already, I'm going to do a quick little intro. So today we're joined by someone who was signed by LFC as a record signing at the time. He was an important team member of the legendary 2001 season where we won the League Cup, FA Cup, UEFA Cup, and then later on the Super Cup. He's someone who played and scored in the famous 5-1 victory over Germany. He played in 2 World Cups. He scored 110 goals and achieved 53 assists during his career in the Premier League. He's also known for his DJ celebration and now nominated for Autobiography of the Year at the Telegraph Sports Book Awards 2020. I welcome Emile Heskey.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on, Emile. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Good. Can't complain. Apart from this pandemic, but we're getting over it now, so that's good.
Yeah, how have you found the last couple of months? Like, how's your daily routine been?
The thing is, if you don't focus on something, you'll go a bit crazy. So I focused on losing a bit of weight, so I managed to do that. Do a bit of running. In a couple of group chats, fat shaming me, so I had to go for runs and all that.
Did you ask them to fat shame you, or were they just doing it anyway?
I don't think they meant it, to be honest with you. Just talking about, I'm going to get up at 7 o'clock and I'm going for this run and doing this, and I'm like, oh, gee, that means I've got to get up and run.
Okay.
But it's good. It's good because again, it gets to clear your mind as well. Got kids here as well, so they obviously it's difficult for them with their homeschooling and missing all their friends and their normal routine, which has been affected. But in all fairness, they just get on with things. They play on the PlayStation and talk to they're going keying through the PlayStation with their mates, so they're all right. And then the younger ones just play with each other anyway. So yeah, it's the adults that find it difficult because routine is what we like.
Have you been chipping in with the homeschooling?
No, don't do that. No, don't do that.
Not your thing.
No, but you know what? It's funny because it was yesterday. I looked at my son. He's 14. I looked at his maths, and I'm looking at it. I'm thinking I see X and a bracket and this and that and plus a 2, and I'm like, what? So I goes to him, what's this? And he just started breaking it down. It just went straight over my head. So I said, leave
it. Yeah, I know how you feel. Crazy stuff. All right. So we're raring to go. We've been inundated with questions by our listeners. So before we get started, I just want to let everyone know that we will try and incorporate as many of your questions as possible during the recording. And there'll be a little slot at the end to ask a few more of your questions for Emile. Harold, do you want to kick things off?
Yes, I don't mind at all. Yeah, so just to kick things off, with it rightfully being a current topic, what are your thoughts on Black Lives Matter, support by the Premier League? We saw Aston Villa and Sheffield United and all the officials take a knee, which was a pretty big gesture. So yeah, what do you think about it? And obviously we've seen Kick It Out campaign previously to the Black Lives Matter campaign. Do you think it'll be any different? Do you think it'll be sustained? What are your thoughts?
We hope it will be sustained. It's great. It's a great cause. Obviously, it's great that all these institutes, all these top people are actually looking at it. And at the end of the day, we're looking at things that is something that's wrong. You know, right is right and wrong is wrong. So if you don't back it, then you're speaking, that silence is speaking volumes. Yeah. So I think they had to back it in a way. Again, to your question, is it just lip service? Is it? We don't know until the next step. You know, we can only see what the next step is and then keep it moving and keep that momentum going. Again, for us, when we're talking about progression, I started in, what was it, 95, I made my debut. Back then you probably have 2%, 3% black managers in the leagues. Yeah, it's probably about the same now in 2020. So we haven't really moved forward, and we talk about moving forward. Again, it's an uncomfortable conversation to have. Well, it's not uncomfortable for us. We live it every day. Yeah. But it's uncomfortable for people to have. So again, we've got to make them feel at ease to even just have the conversation and say, okay, well, where can we go with this? What can we do? Yeah. But now is the best time, because again, if you was to ask me, could I do what Raheem Sterling and the rest of them are doing now, where they're outing people, they're saying it. No, because we didn't have them platforms. The only platform was the media, and we never controlled any of that. He controls his platform. He can say whatever he wants. He can portray it in a certain way, and he can show you why he's saying what he's saying. We never had that, so it's great that they're doing it now. And you see with what Marcus Rashford's done, where he's got the whole government to take a U-turn. It would be nice if they got his name right, but it's one step at a time, isn't it?
Absolutely. Completely right.
Delving into this topic a bit deeper, are you yourself being a black footballer and in a different era to even some players in a different below in the generation too? What kind of struggles did you face? Because you also in your book had an interesting line where you said, "I've got friends who I think are still affected by coaches, by the coaches and how they spoke to them in the 80s and 90s." How was that?
The thing is, you got to remember that I was born in 78, so 80s is me and early 90s. That was when I was really getting into my football, the football in the arena and stuff like that. So I don't think I suffered it as bad as others, because I was good. So you can't allow him that one there. We'll pick on that one there, and I've seen it even to this day. My best friend, and he's affected. He won't tell you he's affected, but I know he's affected by that. He was my strike partner at Leicester, and we came through the ranks together, played together, and when you ask him, he'll tell you, it was like this, but there was nothing we can do. You know, when certain things that would be said and certain things that would be done. Like my parents never smoked. I think I was very, very young. I would have been probably about 4 or 5 when I see my dad smoke. My mum never smoked. My dad gave up then, so I never see my mum and dad growing up smoking really. But we would have jokes on, if you made a bad pass, you've been on that wacky-backy stuff. I was thinking, well, none of one smokes in my household, so what are you talking about? But this is the negative side, the connotations of what they mean and stuff like that. So, but you get on with it, because who am I going to complain to? So things.
Did you ever think to the PFA, as they're supposed to be the organisation, but I've heard even some footballers that I know that they do they're not the people to go to, because they have vested interest in some of these coaches and managers that may perform these acts. So do you think the PFA wasn't PFA for me wasn't an avenue back then. I don't know what it is now. The PFA does some great stuff, to be honest with you. So if you're an ex-player and you want help in the mental health side of things, and you want guidance in your coaching roles and stuff like that, but that sort of stuff, the PFA, I don't think I wouldn't have been comfortable going to a PFA and sitting down and thinking that something was going to be happening. Like you're saying, is the PFA really going to attack the people that are funding them?
Yeah.
It's going to be very, very tough for them to do that, and it's a lot of money that they're funded by, something like 27 million, possibly more, per year. So are they going to really fund that? Are they really going to trouble that funding? It's tough for the PFA as well. But again, I didn't feel comfortable enough to go to them. And again, growing up in the 80s, we had a different mentality. If you were ever attacked or if you ever had pushed into a corner like that, where it's you either fight someone or you run. It was simple as that. You don't call police, you don't call anyone. Yeah. It was that. So you take that same philosophy into the football arena, but you fight someone in the football arena, you're never going to play again. So you kind of always backing off. You're always backing off. You're never really attacking what you. I've seen. I put in my book, and I'm still friends with him. I'm still friends with him now. My strike partner, he was a year older than me. We played against Stoke. Yeah, it was Stoke at Beaver Drive, where we used to play for Leicester. Youth team. As soon as we come on the pitch, N-word this, N-word that, N-word this. A referee can hear it. Coaches can hear it. N-word, N-word this. Who's fouled? I think I fouled someone, and the lad's lying on the floor. No, my strike partner's fouled someone. The lad's lying on the floor, and he's looked up. Oh, you N-word this, blah blah blah. And then his mates come running across. They didn't realise this guy was alongside playing football. He's boxed as well. So he's just giving in, bang, bang. He's put him to sleep. Bang, the other guy got back on. He's bang, bang. He's put him to sleep. But what I'm saying is, this is 15, 20 minutes in. Why is it waited for two people to be asleep on the floor for you to deal with a situation that you know is wrong?
Yeah.
One, the coaches, and two, the officials.
Yeah.
This lad's got fined. What for being racially abused and defending himself when someone's attacking you. This is the problem we have. We don't, and this is the problem where you haven't engaged with the right people to understand what's going on these football pitches.
Yeah.
To know, okay, well, but you should have attacked him. No, he attacked me. I'm defending myself. This is all we do. That's all we do. We don't go around beating anyone up. No, we just defend ourselves. And this is what happened on the pitch. And he actually, sadly, I think gave up football after probably about 4 years after that. But he had similar sort of things going along where people are attacking him because he's black.
Wow. And you know what? I really appreciate your honesty on that as well, because even though there wasn't much of a basis or much of a platform for you to speak out back then, we're thankful that you're able to come on here and just be honest about your.
I put it in my book,
things.
so
yeah.
It's out there.
Absolutely.
So before we let we go on, sorry, Harold.
That's all right.
Before we go on, I just wanted to ask Emile, like you made a point in saying that you just got on with it. Do you think that's why like the older generation footballers like your John Barneses and your Wrights and Atal, they don't come out as much because they just have a mentality of, let's just get on with it, let's just do our thing and keep it moving?
Yes, I think so. I'm good friends with Viv Anderson. He's from that generation where they throw bananas at you and all that. You know, they will come up in your face and tell you that they don't like you because you're black. Do you know? I think he gave me a story about what was it? It was Cloughie actually, about, you know, you're going to be racially abused. And if you can't handle it now, just go home. That was kind of the things. Yeah.
Outrageous.
Yeah, but again, when you've had that for so long, you kind of just come accustomed to that. If someone says something to you, you just say, yeah, whatever, and you move on. Whereas nowadays, they're not having it.
Yeah.
But again, there's avenues. There's avenues that even now, could you put it this way? In 2000, if I'd have walked off a pitch because I was racially abused, what would happen to me?
Selfish. Yeah.
I would have been fined. No one else.
Yeah. I can just imagine the tabloids on whoever selfish. Yeah.
So you have to toe the line. You have to feed. You basically have to just accept that at some stage it will change, but we can't do it. It's not changing right now.
All right. So
now there's actual procedures. I can go up to my sons who are playing. They can go up to the referee and say, "What's going on? Did you hear that? Blah blah blah." No, I didn't. I'll keep an eye out. Did you hear that one? Yeah, I heard that one. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
You shouldn't really get three strikes, but at least it's there.
Well, I'm just wondering, like, obviously this happened throughout your career, but do you think as you grew older, you kind of understood the subtle racism that was involved as well when people were speaking to you?
Yeah, you not even when you're older, you understand it anyway. You understand it from a young age. You know, I've even to now, you know, I see it, I get it, and I don't understand it, but I get it all the time. You know, the one I was in a French airport, went to France, went to one of them coffee shops or whatever, and I bought my food and my drink, and I've sat down. And you know, at the coffee shops at the airport, they've got this stool bit where that looks into the airport. Yeah. So I've sat down there and I've looked into the airport. At the table behind me, the woman's grabbed her bag and pulled it towards her. The bag was on its chair on its own. She grabbed the bag and put it on her lap. But I'm facing outwards. I'm not even looking at them. But you know, you've got a kind of just in your
peripheral vision. Yeah.
And then 2 minutes later, they've all got up and sat on the opposite side.
Oh wow!
And I'm like, really?
Yeah. No.
Is it, we still having that? This would have been what, 3-4 years ago, if that.
Yeah, that is.
This is again. It's kind of. A lot of people won't notice that, but you notice it as a black person. What is going on in your surroundings? Because you have to be aware of that.
Yeah, it's literally like a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of complex you're in. And on the topic of what Fahi was talking about, the perhaps more implicit racism that you faced for growing up. And this is, I'm happy I got to ask this question because this is like me. You can't see my full build, but I've growing up, people have always described me big and strong, etc. And that's typically how you were described as well, and how a lot of other black players are described. So I just wanted to ask, how did that make you feel? Did you feel like they were undermining your game a little bit? Did you feel as though, like, made you feel?
Yes, possibly. Did I feed into it? It's hard not to when you keep telling you, because I grew up and I actually grew up playing midfield, playing up front, playing left wing, playing right. So I had a general run of all the positions. So I understand, very intelligent in that sense. Yeah. So I could have played in midfield if I wanted to. I preferred up front. And the way that I played, if you ask my coaches, the youth team coaches, they were willing to play me in the first team from age 15 because of the understanding I had from football and the finesse that I played with. So, yeah, it did undermine it because, again, I was a big lad at 15, but, it doesn't mean that that's the only thing I can do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I can only run through brick walls. Or I can only chase this because I'm quick. No, I've got a subtle side to me as well. I can find a pass. I can do a step over. But a lot of that gets drawn out of it because you feed into the narrative as well.
Sorry, Chris, before you go. I was just going to say, one thing I am really impressed by you, and even in your post career, and I was listening to your podcast last year on This Football Life, is how proud of you are of your game, your confidence. Although you describe yourself as to yourself, like not so extroverted, you have that confidence in your ability. I mean, we see it as Liverpool fans. We see what you've done. That's just something that I think is quite telling about you. It's not an arrogance, but it's like, I know my abilities, I know how good I am, and you just let your football do the talking.
I think you have to have that because, again, when you go into these environments, they will take it away from you. They will take it away from you very quickly as well. So you have to have your own self-confidence. I wasn't great at school. Sports was my thing. I loved athletics. I've loved anything, anything we do, we try and give it our best. Yeah. Parents are from the Caribbean, so cricket, they wanted me to play. I was good at that, but I didn't like it. I just didn't like it. It just wasn't active enough. So football was the thing. So that brought the best out in me. And I knew I was good. So why am I going to let someone else take that away from me?
Yeah.
No, just you go and show them what you can do. And a manager will always tell you whether you're bad or whether you're good. He will tell you straight as well, by the way. He won't mince his words back then as well. But they would put me in left. I remember Martin O'Neill put me in left back. If I wasn't good enough to play on the pitch, they wouldn't put me left back. He put me left back because he knew he could trust me.
Yeah.
And I knew I could trust myself. I was good enough to play there. I wouldn't say I'm going to be the best left back, but I was good enough to play there. And I just went out there and expressed myself whenever I played. And I never really let that hold me back. And this is where you see a lot of players rise and then they suddenly just plummet because they can't get that confidence back. They're looking for that confidence from other people. You should have it within yourself, and then your manager should top it up. with playing you.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's that. Yeah, I've always had it.
So would you say at all, like you're saying you've always had it, but do you think as you grew as a footballer, it grew even more? Or do you think it's always been steady? Because there's something, as I remember as a child watching you, is the media always used to say that you lacked confidence at times, and it was very obvious. But obviously, when I read your book and I hear you speak, and like you always talk about how you felt confident. So do you think there's a disparity there at all, or a misunderstanding? Or
I think it's just a misunderstanding, or they wanted to control the narrative. I don't know. It's hard to tell you. If I wasn't confident, I wouldn't be going on the pitch.
Yeah.
I know players that don't go on. I know players, put it this way, will train Monday to Friday. Friday they'll get a niggle. Then they're back out in training on Tuesday, and then Thursday they get a niggle, so they don't play. It's just a mental battle that they're having all the time, and I've seen it before. I love the training, I love the games, I loved everything about it. So the confidence, you can't look. Your confidence is going to get knocked anyway.
Yeah.
One thing that helped me with confidence, well, with it being knocked and trying to, because again, if you lose a game or you had a bad game or whatever, yeah, you can be down for 2 days, 2-3 days. But I loved comedy. I loved back then. It was Def Jam comedy.
Yeah,
I loved that, and I used to watch that just to get fun and laughs and stuff like that. So I'm not in that mood all the time because again, I've got 3 days and I've got to play another game. And people can overthink at times. So I had my own ways of dealing with that.
So let's get into all things LFC now, and obviously signing for Liverpool at the age of 22, leaving your childhood club, leaving your friends and your family, and moving to a new city and playing for a team as big as Liverpool with that kind of mystique still at the time as it has now. How did you feel about that? Because I know you spoke in your book that you had a little bit of homesickness.
Loved it. Football wise, moving city wise was tough. I'd literally, I was 22 years old. I'd moved out of my parents' house, but I hadn't moved out of my parents' house. So I was still going there. I was literally around the corner.
It was like I guess it was like going to uni, wasn't it, in a way? Yeah,
but at least, yeah, possibly. But again, you're still within uni. You're still enjoying partying and this sort of thing. But this now football is like you train and then you focus. Got to make sure you're eating right, you're sleeping right. You've got to rest your bones because of this. Gerald Houllier would say things like, "I don't want you to be going shopping. Let your wife do it. I don't want you to be walking up and down the aisle."
I can imagine saying that as well.
I swear. I was like, huh? What difference does it make? But yeah, you should say things like that. So I would go from training, and it'd be fun and it'd be great being around the lads, and then I'd go home and I'm in this alien place. And again, it was like 2000. So back then in 2000, 20 years ago, we never had Google. We never had all these things. We never had, we just about got sat nav. And I wasn't outgoing in person. So I would just sit in the apartment that I had, and I would just be looking around, and it just got overwhelming. And I just wanted to be back home. But then I'd wake up in the morning, go training. I'd be fine again. Because I'm around the lads, I'm around my people, the thing that I love to do and that I thrive for, which is football. And then I'd leave there at 2 o'clock, and I'd be kind of dreading going back to the apartment. But again, as well, when I was at Leicester, it was we'd all eat together for lunch and all that sort of stuff. We'd probably have a bit more social, but again, it's a different kettle of fish when you're talking about social as well, because we had so many games with Liverpool. You could never have the social life that we had at Leicester, because you have to eat, sleep, and breathe it. So even the lads outside of training, they'd just go back to their homes, and we'd be distant, and I would just be sat on my own.
So obviously, when you joined, how did your role change compared to how it was at Leicester? Well,
yeah, Liverpool, you're the biggest club in the world. So again, you're gonna have more of the ball. So it had gone from hitting channels at Leicester, chasing the ball down, creating havoc, running with the ball, and playing percentage football where you're working in there, you're trying to work in their half, you're just playing it long and working in their half. And I was the one, me and Tony Cotti or me and whoever, the one chasing the ball and causing havoc. to having 60, 70, sometimes even 80% possession. And then having to find angles to find the pass. And it helped because I'd played international football from the age of 16, youth international football. So that's totally different to your club football, because again it's derived from possession based football. So that helped. So when I went to Liverpool, I found it just it was a great fit. And I'd known a lot of the lads because they were international players, England international. I was an international player by then.
I just want to quickly touch on as well. Obviously, when Liverpool signed Yara Littmanen, he played in a role kind of similar to yours. Obviously, he was a lot more experienced. He did come off a few injury-riddled season at Barcelona and stuff. So kind of adapting to that new role where you had partnering alongside Michael Owen, famously, and Robbie Fowler too. Did he help you from a training point of view, adapt to that kind of attacking midfield second striker role?
No, not really. I would. You learn from people like that by watching them. I don't think it was a case of him taking me to one side or anything like that and teaching me anything. But no, you learn from players like that, and it's good to have all them sort of different players all around you. The level of football, the level and the pace of football goes up when you're in Liverpool. Anyway, I remember our first training session. We used to train at Leicester, and yes, we tackled and stuff like that, but it wasn't full on. Because again, the manager didn't want that. He wanted you to be competitive in the games, not necessarily in training. And I remember getting the ball. The first ball come to me, and Stefan Hencho just went straight through the back of me. I'm like, whoa, what's going on here?
Yeah.
But I quite liked it because then I have to give you one back, innit?
Yeah. You said in the past that Gerard Houllier taught you about football. Can you tell us a bit more about his management style? Because I found it really intriguing, because he's quite mysterious in the sense you don't see many interviews about him or with him. So what do you think he really helped you with in terms of football?
Well, I went from playing at Leicester, where Martin O'Neill was basically about me and saying, you're good at this, good at that, good at this, you do that. You do that. Keep doing that. Keep getting at him. Keep taking him on. Keep doing this. Just get the ball, turn and run. You can run them channels. You can do this. And then when it comes to the team, we worked on team stuff, but it was just us. And then you go to Liverpool, and it's just a whole another level. You know, we're working on ourselves. We're working on the team. We're working on them. So when you go to the pitch, you know every single thing. We'd sit in a meeting room, and we'd watch a 45 minutes on a game about them. And I just kid you not, I was falling asleep in the first couple because I'd never been in them sort of long meetings. You sit at the back and it's dark, just a screen at the front. But then you start to learn a lot more about football and a lot more about the opposition and preparation, real true preparation and information. Like we do like 30 minutes on possession. No, just a ball. No opposition, just move the ball, pass it. The ball's, and then he'll go, give me the ball. The ball's here. Where are you going to be? And you'd have to scoot around as players to see to mimic where you should be if the ball's at the right back or the left back or wherever in the midfield. And so when it comes to the game, it's second nature. You're just doing it like that. It was fascinating to see. And then when I look back at certain stuff that he was doing when it comes to diet and nutrition, it was just another level. They're doing it now as well still. But we were doing it in 2000. But people really questioned it and everything. But really, you should have just got on with it.
So was the diet change from Leicester to Liverpool completely different?
Oh, we was eating crisps. We were eating Walkers because we're sponsored by Walkers. We were eating Walkers crisps. Going to games. Snickers.
Okay.
Randomly, but I had that top. That top for you.
Yeah, we were sponsored by Walker's Crisps because it's made in Leicester, and we were getting boxes of crisps, going, eating them, going to games and stuff like that. You're like, come on, man, come on. But then it was just a norm for us. And you think about it, right? We came up with Leicester. Sorry, going to Leicester. We went to Leicester when I came through at Leicester. We went to 3 cup finals in 4 years, and finished top half of the table from a team that they said should have been relegated every single season, eating bags of crisps.
That is pretty wild.
Yeah, that is crazy.
But no, yeah, when you look at the difference, eating times. what you're eating, how much of it you're eating. Everything was down, packed at Liverpool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly touch on as well, kind of that 2001, 2002 season. Kind of that the strikers that were at the club at the time, because that's quite a roster of strikers. Yourself, Michael Owen, Robbie Fowler for a short period of time, Nicholas Anelka for the second half of the season, and Yari Littman. How did that kind of environment feel from a competitive point of view?
I loved it because again we had so much firepower, and you're learning from everyone. Nico. I'm gutted he never signed, to be honest with you.
I think we all are.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, he's my generation. So when I played against him, I'll give you a funny story as well. When England under 18s, me and Michael played together. Michael's 2 years younger than us, but played with our under 18s England side. Went to play France in the Euros. France won the Euros. We come third. Me and Michael up front. The manager of France was Houllier, and the players. I'll give you the French team: Anelka, Henri, Trezeguet, William Gallas, Mikel Silvestre, Ousmane Darboe, Willy Sagnon, another guy called Cisse, who actually was he came to West Ham for a little bit. They had a team, I'm telling you, they had a team, and a lot of them ended up being top players, unbelievable players. But yeah, so Nico was a phenomenal player, and I'm not sure that I don't know the politics behind it, but I don't know why he didn't sign, but he was phenomenal. But
how was he in the dressing room? Sorry, Mil.
He was quiet. You know, you think that Nico's like a flash and loud. No, he was quiet. You have to go. The thing with Nico, you would have to go and engage with him to get a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, but and then he'd have a really good conversation with you, but he's quiet. He doesn't really. But again, it's still fun. Still has a lot of fun and stuff like that. But again, people thought that he was Lasok and this and that.
Yeah.
It's misunderstood, I think. And this is the thing: when you misunderstand people, you just impose what you think of someone on, and then it just goes out there like Wi-Fi. No, he's just a misunderstood player.
Speaking of misunderstood, growing up around my age, there was this obvious narrative that you never scored goals. That was put on by YouTubers like, for example, KSI, who was very popular around my age. How does that? And you know, with like, for example, strikers like Roberto Firmino, who are not the most traditional number nines in the sense that they're not the main focus for goals. And you were kind of the same with the linking up play with the strikers and with the wingers and bringing them into the game. The same was Bobby Firmino. So could you tell us that, you know, how does that look now, and how did it make you feel at the time when there was this narrative that you wouldn't score, and you see strikers like Bobby Firmino now who are praised for exactly doing what you did?
The thing is, it always swings around, doesn't it? You say that I didn't score. I still scored over 100 goals in the Premier League.
Heskey,
and the thing is, you're talking about someone who played. I even told you I played left back. You're talking about someone who played all over the pitch, and you know there's a narrative that some people run with, and it just goes like wildfire. You got to remember, I played my first full season at Leicester. I played left wing. I didn't play up front. Yeah. You know, so again, I just leave people to let themselves do it, because sometimes these people are their favourite strikers. I'm still outscoring them. I'm still playing more games. I'm still playing more games than them.
Yes, this is my goat. I'm talking right now. Yes.
But this is the weird thing. That you would worship that guy who I'm outscoring, but you're telling me I don't score goals.
Yeah.
People don't have 100 goals in the Premier League, but yeah.
You do, yeah. You do.
It's a strange one for me, but I leave them to do what they want, because again, if I was to sit down with you and say, your son, he's gonna make his debut at 17, and in between his career, he's gonna go to 2 World Cups, 2 Euros. He's gonna score over 100 goals in the Premier League. He's gonna win 4 League Cups, an FA Cup, a Super Cup, a UEFA Cup. And he's going to be 10th, 10 or 12th in the all-time Premier League scoring shots. What do you think people are going to say?
Chill out, Heskey. Chill out, Bill.
This is the thing. They're going to be happy. They're going to be happy with it. But then people are going to ridicule you when you're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I don't get with people sometimes. But again, I leave people to do it. At the end of the day, it doesn't really bother me, because stats will say, yeah, he's there and he's got this. And, you know, when you're looking at goals, my name's up there. And even, well, look at it, Andy Cole. I don't mean to bring up a Man United player, but he doesn't get the same recognition as Rooney and
it's true.
I completely agree.
And Shearer. But yeah, his name's up at the top of all of them.
Yeah.
Rooney's only just beat him, and that would have been in the last 4 or 5 years. And Coley's been retired for how long?
Yeah, no, it's true. You're right.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
So, and then you got to remember as well, you're talking about he was the second highest Premier League goal scorer, but yet he still had the label of he needed more than one chance. So did everyone else.
Yeah.
It's normal.
It's interesting how you say the swings and roundabout things, because obviously now we're in more of a stats and analytics driven era. Whereas, say, if you put a player like yourself in this era, there'd be so many clubs biting their hands off to kind of sign you with your underlying stats. So it's interesting that you do think that.
It's funny. I'll give you another funny story. When I went back to England, so I never played for England from 2004 to 2008, and then I got a call from Steve McLaren. I was a Wigan player, but I left at 2004 in the Euros and never got called back. And I thought, yeah, they're going to call me back. Don't worry. It took 4 years. They called me back, and we got these little jokes that players play and pretend they call you up pretending to be someone else. So he guys, hi Emile, it's Steve, and I'm like on the phone, hi Steve, and then he goes, oh Steve McLaren. Oh hi Steve, how are you doing? But I'm still in my mind thinking it's someone messing about. So I nearly hung up on the England manager, and then obviously realised who it was, and he called me back up and everything, and even then. You get a media hysteria. Oh no, not him.
I remember that fully.
I remember that. Yeah,
but I again, when you really look at it, that's bullying.
Yeah.
There's no reason to print that at all. I played. They had to eat humble pie, and because I played well for the 2 games, and what I'm getting at with these stats, Steve Round, who was the assistant at the time, I think, or coach or something like that, head coach, one of his coach, assistant coach or something like that. He came to me and said, "This stats, blah blah. You kept the ball 90% of the time," and I'm like, "Okay." But he was looking at me to say, "Oh, thank you for that." I'm like, "So what? That's what I do. No?
That's what I do.
It's like normal. It's not normal for people."
Isn't that why I'm here?
He must have thought that this fool. I didn't bat an eyelid about that sort of thing, because again, even if it was 60% or 80 or 100%, I know what I do, and I know what I do well, and you know, I bring people in. People can play off me, and this is why people like to play with me. Yes, I can score goals as well, and I do score goals. Up until the last part of my career, I was on 10 to 12 goals a season for a striker who they say is not a goal scorer. And, you know, I would love to. Obviously, the first season at Liverpool, I think I got 21 goals. Yeah. But it was a great season for us all. It was a great season for us all. Everything just clicked and everything just went well. So, yeah, it's interesting that people look at the stats and how they read upon stats as well.
I mean, I'd like to pick on a point you made, how people like to play with you and how you like to bring others into the game. Over the years, we've seen Owen, and still today, Michael Owen talks amazing about you, waxes lyrical about you. How important were you to his game, but how important was he to your game?
I think we were just a perfect match. Like I said, we started from I was 18, he was 16, so we got an understanding from then. So it just blossomed into what it was. Some of the stuff that he was good at, it complemented me. Some of the stuff that I was good at complemented him. Whenever I'm going up for a ball, and I'm not massive, I'm not huge. I'm 6'1". People look at me and say, "I thought you were taller." I'm 6'1". I was good with using my body, flick on the ball. I knew exactly where he wanted the ball. I knew exactly where he wanted to be, and it just worked so well. And when you get a partnership like that, you know, we both can bounce off each other and we both get joy from it. Again, with my nature, I'm not selfish or anything like that. So again, it didn't bother me with him getting a lot of goals and me having assists. It didn't bother me because with my nature, I'm all about helping anyway. And it would. I know players that will lose 4-1, but they've scored, and they say, "Well, I've done my job. I'm happy."
Yeah.
What's that all about?
Yeah.
You're going home miserable, and you're happy because you scored a goal. Nah. So, but I'm not like that. And there are a lot of players like that. But again, it's a team sport, and you need people to sacrifice themselves at times.
Yeah. I was continue with that. Obviously, the first 18 months you've come into Liverpool, you had the infamous the treble with the FA Cup, League Cup, and UEFA Cup. Would you say that was your peak as a footballer? And what would you say is your favourite memories from that season?
Yeah, I would. I'd probably add a little bit of in Leicester as well, because again, Leicester was a big part of who I am as a player, because I came through there as a young lad, and they gave me the opportunity to showcase that. So, what was the best moment from that? Beating Everton's always great, mate. Honestly, no. You know what? I did a show today as well. Now speaking about the derby, and I remember playing against Everton for Leicester, and they're like, "Yeah, it's a great game. It's nothing really." But then when you play Everton for Liverpool,
different.
Completely different.
Mate. You see people's eyes going lighting up. And what's going on here? What's happening? But it was good as well with it, because the first one I didn't like because I wasn't mentally ready for it. After that, yeah, it's on. It's on. Especially when you're winning. Gary McAllister's goal at the end there. Yeah. I got one as well that game as well. Yeah. So yeah, it was great scoring against them and beating them. You know, you always get and again, it's the bragging rights, isn't it, for the city?
Yeah.
So yeah, always good beating them.
That goal was controversial, isn't it? Because I think Everton were crying for a foul or penalty or something.
Handball, wasn't it?
Was it handball? Yeah.
It was
Kevin
Carragher.
Campbell. Yeah, Carragher.
No, it was big dunk on Carragher. I think he pushed him, and Carragher kind of went back, and it's kind of hit him. But the foul's on Carragher first.
Yeah. That's it.
And then he cleared it. It went to Didi Hamann. No, he cleared it. He headed back, but the header wasn't good. It went back to Didi Hamann. First time ball into me, and then I went through.
One time.
Easy.
I think
Just on the sorry. No. Okay, cool. Just on the topic of you in that season, how disappointed were you that the club never steps up to win the title the following season? Yeah,
look, I think this is the thing between people ask me about our team to the team now. I think that's the thing between us and them. Consistency. We didn't have it. We just didn't have it over a period of a season. We don't beat Man U at Old Trafford. That was nice. We don't beat Everton, which is, with all due respect, it's still a tough game because of the magnitude of the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then we go get beat by Ipswich or go. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't. The consistency wasn't there. Whereas this team now, backs against the wall against Southampton, they're still grinding out a 1-0. Not having a good game against Burnley, still going to beat them. Yeah. Simple. We never had that. And I think even though we finished second, was it that season we finished second?
Season after, wasn't it?
Season after. Yeah.
So even that season where we finished second, we were still quite far behind, to be honest with you. I think it was like 6 or 7 points, and they started playing some younger lads towards the end as well. So I just think for the consistency, we just didn't have it over the course of the season, and we would, because again, at the beginning of a season, you always sit down and say, what are your goals? What do you want out of this season? And it was always winning the league, because that's what we felt we could do. And I was 20, I would have been 23, 24 at the time. So I want that. I'm a young lad. I'm a young lion. I want to win the league. But that was just a difficult one, a disappointing one, to be honest.
Yeah, I think my favourite game from that 01-02 season was obviously when the Champions League was still in 2 group stages, and we had that kind of group of death with Galatasaray, Barcelona, and Roma. I had to win on the last game to qualify. Obviously, Michael was injured. Yourself and Yari stepped up and more than delivered. Do you have any? Because that is still considered one of the famous European nights at Anfield. What are your memories from that game? Just out of interest.
Yeah, the memories are obviously we had to win the game. We had to. Was it two? We had to be by 2 goals or something like that.
2 clear goals. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember the header, and I've got what's the Brazilian defender's name?
Out there, Cafu.
Yeah. I've got his shirt as well from that game.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Because that Roma team is absolutely loaded. Looking back at it, there's Cafu,
yeah.
Panucci, Walter Samuel, Batistuta.
By the way, Walter Samuel, Jesus, and I was tough back then, so I thought, I could put myself up against anyone. That man was tough. When solid.
Yeah.
And I was young then as well, so I thought, I could handle anyone. But he was tough, man. But we done well, and I managed to get the header as well. So that's a good one.
That's a wicked one. Obviously, going back to the time when Julio had his health problems, he had I think he had a heart surgery, right?
Yeah.
And obviously the team was taken over by Phil Thompson. How did you find the situation? Was it different, or was it just business as usual?
It was business as usual, and he was good as well because he never changed too much. Okay. He kept to the philosophy that Julio had, even when it comes to meetings, even with the structure of the meetings. He tried to keep it exactly the same. So it was kind of business as usual, which was a good thing because you don't want to change too much, especially when your talisman is out like that. The managers. It's funny because it was against Leeds, and I came in injured. I think I pulled my hamstring, so I was sitting in the treatment room, and the doc's just about to go and look at my hamstring. And he comes in, he says, "Oh, Doc, I don't feel too well, blah, blah, blah." So I've just jumped up because I've looked at him. I said, "I've just jumped up." And I thought, "No, go and sit down." He goes, No, you stay there. I said, "No, you better sit down." I didn't realise the magnitude of what was going on. So I left the room. Next minute, I think they've called the ambulance. They put him in induced coma and everything. It's crazy. I was one of the last persons to see him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bit mad. So I've got a few questions just after that. All right, so we touched on Nicholas Anelka not signing permanently. Obviously, he wanted to, but he wasn't picked. But Julio decided to go for El Hadji Diouf. How did you find him as a player? Because he's got an interesting reputation. So how did you find him as a teammate?
It didn't quite work out the way that he wanted it, was it? And having seen him at the World Cup and everything, and how Senegal played, you were expecting fireworks, weren't you? But it probably fireworks on the in the wrong way. But he was. Look, you can't say that he didn't have ability, but he was a very controversial person. Diouf is a great lad, to be honest. So you have a conversation with Diouf one-on-one, he's fine. But if you're all there, he just wants to be centre of attention. Okay. And I think that was his issue in a sense. You sit down with him one-on-one, wonderful guy. But then when other people are around, it's like, I'm the man, I'm this and I'm that. But again, you can't take away that he was a good player. But
he definitely had ability.
Yeah, he just didn't show it in. And you got to remember, Liverpool's not the easiest place to come as with a reputation and really hit the ground running. You've got to give him time, and I don't think he could cope with that. Same with Igor Bishan and people like that. I helped Igor. I still speak to Igor now. He just found it difficult. He's such a big club, and such the expectations. You've got to go on the pitch and you've got to perform straight away. I can't wait for 6 months for you to perform. I need you now. And these things was difficult for players. So Diouf, I think he just found it difficult at times adapting to that. And again, he took the number 9 shirt, so everyone was thinking he was going to score tons of goals. He ended up playing on the wing. Was he a winger? He could play anywhere along the front, to be honest with you. But he came as a number 9. But he just didn't. It just didn't work out the way that we as the players would have liked to have seen it work out, and probably what he thought it should have been worked out.
Yeah. So at the end of 03-04, you decided to leave. I know you signed for Birmingham a few days before Rafa was announced. I think you personally would have worked really well in a Rafa Benitez setup. But why did you decide to leave in 03-04?
Well, I'd 1 year left.
Yeah.
And I was happy to actually fight for my place. But Rick Parry came to me and said, we've accepted a deal from Birmingham. You can go and speak to them. So I said, that's fine. I said to my agent, that's fine. I'll fight for my place next season. I think I could play, and I could probably earn another contract. He turned around and said, no. Cissé's coming in and you won't play.
Okay.
So I said, okay, well, I better go then.
Yeah.
So it was as blunt as that. And that was it, really. It was difficult to take, but again, you move on. It was even harder to see that I could have possibly won a Champions League. But it was one of those things. What can you do?
Yeah, because just the more I watched, even watching flashbacks back, I'm like, Emile would have been perfect.
I would have played. I think I would have played. I think
100%.
Yeah, I think I would have played at least 50% of the game. So, but again, when you're told that, you've got a decision to make, haven't you?
Yeah.
And that was the decision. At the end of the day, Birmingham was there, and I took it.
So were there any truths to you potentially coming back in 07, 08? Because you used to be linked to us all the time.
I don't. You know what? There was rumours, and we looked into it, but nothing concrete was there, to be honest.
Okay.
I always thought it was strange that obviously you left on the end of the 03-04 season, and then the season after, Rafa goes and buys Peter Crouch. I just thought it was really strange because you would have filled that position more than.
Well, when I'd signed, I went away with the national team, and in the mix zone, I was talking to that Guillaume Ballingate. Yeah. And he says, "Why are you left? Rafa's coming in. He will love you there." And I'm like, "Well, I've already signed. They've already got rid of me." And that was his words, like a couple of days after I'd signed. So I know I would have played.
Just stepping away from your Liverpool career for a little bit, you managed to get 62 caps for England. Congratulations, because that's more than a lot of people got between the years of 1999 and 2010. And you saw what was considered the golden generation kind of all the way through. You was able to see the inception of Scholes at the beginning, Gerrard, Lampard, all coming through at the same time. Wonderful strikers like Owen, Beckham, superstars. But we, as a country, we never actually had any success with them. And recently, as most of the players from that generation have retired, the likes of Ferdinand, Gerrard and Lampard has actually blamed the club rivalry and lack of communication as one of the reasons why. In your time, what did you think it was that was holding England back?
Was we the golden generation?
Or to me, you was. To me, definitely was.
No, 100%. Because you're British, you're English. They love the Premier League, and you see us all the time in the Premier League. But was we the golden generation? I named France. I named France's team to you. That's just from my age.
Mm-hmm.
Put Zidane with them. Put Lizarazu. Put Thuram. Put Desailly. Put Barthez. Put Wiltord. Put all these players with them, and then see what you've got. Who's got the job? And who was winning? They were winning. Golden generation. Yeah. We were labelled that. Would you say the club rivalry had anything to do with it? Possibly. At the end of the day, we did 100%. We had clicks, 100%. And it's funny because again, I left the national team 2004 and I came back in 2008. So I was a Liverpool player. So I would sit with all the Liverpool players and everything. When you went with the national team, we had Liverpool players and then you had Man U players. And you just generally just congregate to the players that you're always at your club with.
Yeah.
And then I left and then I came back as a Wigan player. No Wigan players at England. So you're kind of out of all them cliques.
Yeah.
Sat on your own. Sat with the others.
So to expand on that, do you feel that, for example, with France, Italy's, Germany's at the time, their players would all be all across Europe, and when it's time for them to get together as a national team, they were, oh my God, I haven't seen this one, I haven't seen this one in months, and they're together and they kind of want to win for each other. But with the Premier League, we're spoiled in the fact that we have English players that are always in England. And, they can kind of see, for example, you will kind of look at someone like Scholes and be like, well, I'm probably going to play you in a couple of months. I'm probably going to go at it again. So, let's forget it. Is that kind of the vibe that was going on?
100%. When you look at even with the Irish players, some of the stuff that they would say, yeah, they would get together, they would go out eating together. We did basically nothing together. Nothing together. We'd have food together and then we go back to our rooms. Some people play PlayStation, some people play a bit of pool, but we never really did anything collectively together. The Liverpool lads might do something together. We've seen it. It was tough at times to say whether that actually had a detrimental effect on us. I think 2002 was the closest I ever got to going anywhere within that tournament. We've beaten Denmark and then going and playing against Brazil. Apart from that, no, it just wasn't good enough. I think sometimes you just got to accept that, haven't you?
Yes.
You know what? Honestly, yeah. Like now that I'm a bit older and I've actually compared the teams with each other, I'm like, the golden generation that we thought was a golden generation, like compared to some of the other teams around the world, it's like, was it? Really?
I don't know, man. No,
and can I just say as well, like you're saying there, they probably had a better collective team that worked together. Whereas you look at Atletico Madrid, how are they always in the Champions League semi? They're not got no real superstars and stuff like that. They got people who want to play together and want to really bond. Croatia and all them players have the same. Teams like that. How do you think Greece go and win the Euros?
I don't know how that happened.
I personally think that's a money laundering scheme.
Wow.
To this day.
That's crazy. Obviously, touching on your England career, there were a couple of incidents of like racial abuse you received alongside like Ashley Cole in Slovakia in 2002, which you said was the worst in your career. Also, you received abuse against Croatia during the 2010 World Cup. Like Neville's come out, he's had a bit of like reminiscing. No, I'm sorry, I wasn't there. I'm sorry, I wasn't there. At that time, do you feel like you were supported by the squad management, the FA at the time?
Squad, no.
Yeah.
FA, yes. They actually interviewed me after the Slovakia incident, and obviously because they were obviously going to put their reporting. Do you want the truth?
Yeah, that's all I hear. That's all I hear.
How I look at it is there's things going on in England that kind of get brushed under the carpet.
Yep.
And then as soon as you hear a monkey chant abroad, it's no, you can't say that to our lads.
Yeah.
I'd rather you deal with that one because I'm never going to come back here again.
Yeah, for real.
So yeah, look, I think they have to, because again they want change, especially when it comes to UEFA and dealing with your Euros and stuff like that. But don't pick and choose. That's what I'll say.
So you touched on like you weren't really supported by the squad. Does that mean like no one actually said anything to you? No one checked up. What about like you and Ashley Cole? Did you speak about it together?
The thing is, the black players knew, and we just look at you. You hear that? Yeah. Well, what can you do, man? What can you do? Even when it came to like media reports, and you'd look at. I remember one time, I come down it was actually 2010. We got knocked out. And, Ash, I think it's Ash got quite a lot, to be fair. I think it was Ash and Ledley came down the stairs off the plane, and they said, and I think they were having a little bit of a joke. So they were laughing. Oh, these two, Emile Heskey and Ashley Cole, laughing. Who do they think? Blah blah blah. I was thinking, please don't call me. Don't get me mixed up with Ledley King. Full on beard and moustache, and I can't even grow a little bit.
Yeah.
And we knew that, so we didn't really. There was a little bit of a running joke who was going to get it this week or who was going to get it.
Wow.
You know, you kind of just get used to it, and you just.
No, I know you flipped out in Turkey. Like, was that just enough? It was just enough. Like,
no, do you know what that was? So we had the game and everything, blah blah. Coming in at half time, I'm walking through the tunnel. I'm calm anyway. I'm not this what everyone thinks, what everyone might think because of the way I play on the pitch. I'm just walking through the tunnel, and Hassan Sash is arguing with Ashley Cole. So I'm looking at it, and I'm just carrying on walking because I have to walk past them. But I was just going to carry on walking. They're just arguing. He spits in his face.
Yeah,
I slapped him.
Oh wow. Okay.
And then the security guard come after me.
Yeah.
So then we all just had it in the tunnel. But then,
Lovely.
so when you come through the tunnel, the breakout bit, the big bit, you sometimes have like a break.
Yeah.
But there, and then I didn't realize they're having a fight in the tunnel as well. So I don't know what was going on behind me.
Yeah.
The thing is, I would rather him slap Ashley, and then we could say, "Hey, what's going on?" But when he's spitting someone's face, that's disrespectful.
It's disrespectful, man. Disrespect.
Ultimate. And it's interesting that you spoke on like how you like the media would purposely get you mixed up with, like you said, Ledley King, and you said how you coped with it was basically just making fun of it, making jokes about it. I think that's very common amongst the black community, because even me, that's our coping mechanism. We just laugh it off. You know how you were speaking about how you used to really like Def Jam comedy. So that is something that's so pertinent amongst our people. That's just how we get through things. We make jokes out of it,
Well, that's the only way you could back then anyway. What could you do?
Something you laugh or you cry kind of thing.
Yeah. So it's probably something that just basically took throughout my years as a young kid. That you just don't worry, just leave it. It'll blow over.
Sad reality.
Yeah.
On that note, but on to more post football. Post playing football. You joined Edgerton, if I'm saying that right, a couple years ago, or a few years ago. And more recently, last month, you said you're gonna start a management course with UEFA, with working with the women's team in Leicester City, and there's a distinct lack of black coaches in the footballing game. It's clear for all to see. We spoke about Sterling earlier coming out and saying about the managerial fortunes that people like Steven Gerrard and Frank Lampard have had in comparison to someone like Sol Campbell. So, and as we were speaking earlier, it's all well and good speaking, but we need action. We need actual change. So what do you think needs to change? How do you think it can change? And most importantly, how do you think we'll see a change in attitude from the decision makers in the game?
That's a tough one. So going back to what you said before, and then we'll work through it.
Long question.
I joined Edgerton in the sense that I'd finished playing football and I didn't know what to do, and I didn't want to just stop training. So there was a couple of people who were training together, and I just joined the training. I never played or anything. I just used to join in the training. And then, I've joined this master's course. It's called the MIP, UEFA MIP, Masters for International Players. And basically, they've recognised that players have a role to play with moving football forward. So they're educating us on how understanding of associations, of football clubs, directorships, all sorts of the top tier of basically a club. And association, so we can actually apply for jobs and help run football in the long run. Because again, you don't really see many players come out of football and then go into them sort of jobs. I always say about football, you can play football for 22 years and then come out of football with no qualifications within football. You have to go back down to the bottom, get your badges, back down and get this, unless you're fortunate enough to go into Derby County or somewhere like that.
Exactly.
But yeah, look, I think there's a must. There's a big push now, and this is a great time to do it. There's a big push to get BAME. They call it BAME. No,
how do you feel? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
You know what it is? We use the word BAME. Then when we say names, we only name black people.
Yeah.
Just say black.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, literally. And it's so funny you said, because I was actually having a discussion in my workplace today about that term. And I was having to explain to people why. I don't understand why we've been grouped. Yeah.
I get it. You don't want to leave anyone out, but we've been left out for how many years?
Yes, and it is strange because the problems we face as a black community are different to the problems to the Asian community, and any other community. It is.
I would love to someone to turn around and say, blah blah about getting BAME people, but then name an Asian, Indian, and just give a different.
Yeah.
Keep just saying black people.
Just say that honestly. Literally. Yeah, literally. But you know what's interesting about what you were talking about, finishing your footballing career and then wanting to go into management. It's quite interesting, and I haven't actually thought about this until you just said it. Perhaps the reason why there aren't as much black coaches in football, not to say that they're not trying, but maybe some of them are not too fond of putting back into the game, which, although they gave them a lot of happiness, perhaps it gave them a lot of dark times as well, and just perhaps funding the man, in quotations, even more.
Yeah, I think there will definitely be people like 100%. I probably know some as well. No, it's true. But yeah, I think then you look at the different sides of it. Okay, why can't you go back to grassroots and help there? And you know that you're helping others who look like you and might face the same prejudices and difficulties, that you can educate them and help them and steer their path away from all that.
Yeah, that's the right mentality. Yeah,
it's different. You don't have to just keep looking at that and thinking that you want. I want to be up there because, again, I want my kids or other people from the same background as me and saying, he's up there. I can be up there. Yeah. At this moment in time, I can't see anyone up there. Les is up there. You know. So yeah, I think I would love to get involved in a club somewhere down the line, whether it be directorship. But again, I think football has a lot to do at this moment in time if it's going to really change. I think it needs to implement procedures. I think I was reading recently S&P 100 did a 30% rule. They brought this into play. 30%. They were trying to change, get more females on their board. And they're up at 28% now, and that's not long. They've only really been doing it for I think 10 years or maybe 8 years or something like that. Brilliant. So it can be done, but you have to put things in place. Now, I doubt they'll put anything in place and just say black. Again, I don't know. This is the thing: when you don't say it specifically, it just leaves flood doors open.
Yeah.
Because again, if you look at, for argument's sake, you look at the equality. What's the inclusion advisory board or inclusion equality, something like that. The FA and all them were bringing in that so they can get more BAME women and different
disabled.
Yeah, but who prospered most from that? White women prospered more from that than any other people. You know, and this is what happens when you don't you're not specific. Okay, yeah, there's no reason why you can't have white women or white men doing it, but again, you still close the door for others.
Yeah, it does seem like there is like a struggle for people to deal with one issue at a time and not necessarily have to try and
lump everyone in.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can deal with a black issue, cool. There's a problem there. Let's sort it out. So you can deal with a gender inequality issue. Okay, let's sort that out. But it seems to just be lumped into one,
But the thing is as well, okay, so imagine if we put procedures in to get a plan in place, and we put the procedures in to say we want 10% more black coaches or black board members or whatever. Yeah, there's no reason why you can't just run using the same methodology.
Yeah, it's true at the same time.
Yeah, and get 10% women in, and then use the same and get 10% Asian, and then do the same and get 10%. You know, you don't have to just say ethnic, as in BAME or whatever. Let's just separate it a little bit and take one step at a time.
I'm with you.
And we can get to where we want to get to. When you start lumping it in like that, it goes nowhere.
Yeah.
And we've been going nowhere.
Absolutely.
It's interesting you said that about your coaching badges, because I can definitely see the value that you'd add to someone like just looking at Liverpool, for instance, like a Curtis Jones's game. I could see the value that your experience and the way you play.
Well, the thing for me is, I would love to be a mentor. I would love to do that side of things. And then if I have to do a bit of coaching, I don't mind doing that. But I'd love to just steer them right down the right path and making sure they're focused and ready to deal with this or ready to deal with that.
Is that something the club has approaced you about? Because I know they've had
I'll give you a joke. I actually approached Leicester about it, and that was 5 years ago. But again, they never had the foresight to see what you can bring to the table with that. But recently, someone asked me if I could help with one of their players. I said, yeah, no problem. What does he want? He goes, he wants to do this. He goes, can you speak to him? I said, yeah, I can speak to him, but I need to be one-on-one so I can show him. I can't speak to you and tell you to do this. I need to show you and show you why you should be doing this. And he was talking about holding the ball up. And I said, no, I need to show you. I can't just tell you what to do. I need to actually physically be there. And I need to push you, and I need to shove you, and I need to tell you why I'm pushing and shoving you, because the defender's going to do it, and I need to kick you. I need to make sure you know your distances, that you're between the man and the ball, at all times. Yeah. So I get them all the time, to be honest with you. But yeah, that is one aspect that a lot of people haven't really looked at, the mentoring side of players.
So is that what you want to kind of get into, after your UEFA course is done? Or
no, I would just love to do that anyway. But I want to be, I would love to be on a board somewhere and helping run a club and guiding the destiny of a club.
Okay.
Because again, we have clubs, right? We have clubs, and generally the players are there in the clubs, the board and all that are up here. There's nothing in between to connect them.
Yeah.
Nothing in between, like we had recently, and I don't. They'll tell me different, but it just looked this way. We had the FA, you had the Premier League, the FA, you had the clubs, then you had players. Last thing, who's connecting the players with the FA and all these different people?
Yeah,
because you should not be coming a week before and then having the problem that Troy Deeney is not happy with starting. You've had 6 weeks, you've had 8 weeks to sort this out. That means you haven't spoken to any of them.
Yeah.
You know, so there's this. You need this harmony, and this is where Liverpool and Jurgen and all them. I love him, man. He just seems to do everything right. Tell me one person who's had one bad thing to say about him at the club, player wise.
No, not really.
No one. Yeah.
He just seems to have that connection with everyone. Everyone who's leaving, everyone who's coming in, the lot.
We've seen you do a few Punditry gigs over the last few years as well. Is that something you'd like to kind of expand on a bit more?
I like it. I like it because it keeps me connected to the game. It keeps me watching the games, even though there's a game on now. But it keeps me watching, keeps me connected to the games, and keeps me watching, and allows me to give my point of view across. Because you see some people, and sometimes they're just angry people on them panels talking about the game.
Come on, name names.
I don't think I need to. I think
how does that make you feel as well? I mean, being a black man, seeing someone like, I guess we'll just name that person, Graham Souness, kind of consistently go at Pogba for like every little thing.
There's obviously there's some sort of underlying issue there that he's not happy with the way that Paul Pogba plays on it. Again, when I look at it, it's I don't think I'm going to say it is his fault, but he's a midfielder, so he's looking at it from his perspective. I'm this midfielder, and he's a very dominant midfielder and a very angry midfielder in that sense as well. So he would say, well, why isn't he doing this? Why isn't he going through players like this? Or why? No, but you played in the 70s, 80s. This is now, he can't even do that now. You go near someone, they give you a free kick.
You'd be done for GBH if you did.
Imagine. So I think he wants to, he sees probably a little bit of something in him, but just wants to be critical about him all the time. Because I remember some managers, you look at them and you think that every minute they're on your back, they're on you, but they still pick you. It's just that they want the best out of you. And they see something in you and they keep pushing you to give you more, give more, give more. But it just comes across so badly when he keeps having a go at him for anything he does. Oh, look at the way he walks. Oh, look at the way he does. Oh, look at you're like, oh, jeez, come on.
We're turning us a move like Graham Souness is one of Pogba's biggest fans, and he's just trying to push.
I hope he is. I hope he is, or it's just bullying.
Yeah.
What else?
Speaking of punditry and football analysis, on TV we don't have a lead black presenter, but we do have anchors and radio hosts to present football analysis to us. What do you think it will actually take for there to be like a black? We've seen progression from having a female host, which is great. But when do you think there'll be a black match of the day / Super Sunday host?
Match of the day, I'm guessing it will come soon. I think Genus will be that soon. Yeah. On other platforms, I'm guessing that won't be long because again, there's a big push now, and you can't just lip service us now. You've said it, you've recognised it. Let's sit down, let's talk about it. Yeah. Let's see something being implemented. Yeah. You know, it's at times it's difficult to see where, you know it's happening and you can see it's happening, but nothing's changing. But they've obviously said now is the time. We're recognising it. Let's make change. I think is it Sky who put 30 million in for equality or something like that? Is that right? Am I right in saying that?
I'm sure, to be
not too sure.
Yeah, I think they put 30 million in to try and change the change that side of things. So yeah, we're seeing more anyway, in the sense of when you see Sky Sports News, you see JD on there, who's doing very well. Clinton's on there doing very well. But again, you can't just have one or two and think that we're growing places.
Yeah.
Token.
Do you feel that black people in media are seen as, we're good enough to give our opinions, but we're never good enough to lead the conversation?
Yes, and it will take someone to think outside the box to allow us to, and then we can actually then expand on that. Again, when you go back years, when you go back into, say, Viv's time, yes, black people were good enough to play centre back and centre forward because you're quick. But now it's intelligence. You can't play in the midfield. You can't play in the midfield. There's too much intelligence in the midfield. Then it takes for one person to change that view. Now, then it's you see a load of black players playing all over the pitch. You've got in goal, everything. So it's about having that one chance, and then you'll see the floodgates opening a little bit more. But again, when will you get that chance?
Yeah, fair point. All right, cool. So we've been inundated with listeners' questions, so I'm going to try and reel them through it as many as I can, yeah? All right, cool. So the first one is from Adam Rowe Comedy, a friend of the pod. He's asking, what's the one club that you didn't play for but you would have loved to have played for, and the one club you would have never played for no matter what?
Everton, never. Arsenal, I would have loved to have played for. The reason why I say that is, when I grew up watching Arsenal, there was like 4 or 5 black players on the pitch. No, it's true. And you never see that. Honestly, you see 1, 2, but they had like Paul Davis, Rocastle, Mickey Thomas. Who else they had on there? Righty as well. Yeah. All these players and playing for you, like, huh? Who are these? Yeah. But I was a Liverpool fan because of my uncle and John Barnes. So, but then when you're looking at us, you're like, I'd love to play for them.
Growing up as well, I was actually a semi-Arsenal fan because of my dad. So
Julian, you've been a semi-everything fan. He was talking about a United top the other day.
When you're young and you don't have a team, you just watch football in it. But it wasn't until the Heskey came into my life and gave me the DJ celebration. Got the shirt on now because of Heskey.
All right, cool. So talking of that DJ celebration, Jeff Anakin is asking, what does that DJ celebration actually mean to you, and also what kind of music are you into?
All sorts of music, to be honest with you. I'm growing up from the Caribbean background. You reggae, calypso, R&B, soul, funk. I listen to anything, to be honest with you. I love R&B though more than anything. I grew up in that era, so the 90s was very good for R&B.
You and Fahy would get on very well.
Yeah, 100%. Mark Morrison.
I know Mark. So.
You would, local boy. What did that DJ celebration actually mean?
So basically, a DJ friend of mine, Spoonie, big Liverpool fan. He just the season before I had another one that he gave to me, and then obviously that one he said, "Oh yeah, we're going to do a DJ one because when he's DJing, I was telling him about Pull Up." So I said, "Okay." And then it just went crazy, didn't I? Scoring goals.
Legendary, legendary, man.
Yeah, it was good.
What was the backing? What would the backing track for that be then? Going through your mind when she was doing the celebration?
God knows, to be honest. It'd have been some sort of garage tune, wouldn't it?
At the time.
Like it.
Back then, it'd have to be some sort of garage tune.
DJ Heskey, bang on the goal.
Right, so Onana from our Discord channel is asking, who are some of your favourite players that are currently playing?
I love Sancho. I like the way that he plays. I do like the way that he plays. You know, young lads. When you see a young lad come on and with no fear, that there's nothing better. I'm telling you, you just see, you just see him glide past players and looking back at them like they're nothing. And it's great. It's great to see. No fear, no nothing. Who else? Van Dijk is amazing. Rolls Royce, and he's just missing that league title. Then you can put him up there with the Rios and your John Terrys.
Two more games, man. Two more games.
Yeah.
Then I'm ready.
But at this moment in time, you can't put him up there with them because of that title.
Yeah.
Once he wins that title, you can put him up with the Vinny companies and all them, and you can put him in there with that same bracket. If you're not won the title, you're like, who else? Oof. Right back, you got to say Trent is probably the best right back in the world at this moment in time.
Yeah. What about forwards?
Forwards changed. It's different to when I was playing, isn't it now? So your typical number 9 is no longer like what I was. So Suarez, I loved. Aguero, I think, is phenomenal for his goal scoring record and everything. It's just second to none at this moment in time. Firmino, I just love watching because, again, if you take Bobby Firmino out of that team and put someone else in there, I don't think the two wide men click as well.
Thank
you
you,
hear that, Julian?
Thank you.
Julian.
Do you know what? The smile on Christian's face was unbelievable.
I'll allow it.
No, but
you hear that, Julian?
You know why I say that? Because if you watch them play, he drifts. So he's not just staying up front. He's not just standing up front. He drifts and takes people away. So you watch the spaces that they get. You wouldn't get them spaces if he was just stood up there. And he's not. And they're not out and out wingers. Have a look who crosses the ball. It's Trent and bloody Robertson.
Yeah.
They're not wingers. They drift in. So he creates them spaces for them to actually go in and do what they're doing. And then your wingers are actually your right back and your left back.
Just when I think I couldn't love you anymore, Emile.
I mean, like, you just topped it off, mate.
Yeah, no, I'm all said it. I can't argue. Like, if he said it, there's
All right, cool. So Rob_Mush is asking, which centre backs do you feel dealt with best? No. Do you feel dealt with you best at both domestic and international level, and the best individual performances you've been on the pitch for?
The best defenders that are the ones that played up against me. No, don't do that.
Yes.
The ones that I've got to look and find out where you are. They're the difficult ones because, again, you're having to scan all the time and they're trying to nick in and just toe put the ball away from you and stuff like that. They're happy to do that, not to come away with the ball or anything like that. They're the ones that I found very difficult. What was the last bit?
So, like, who would have had one of the best individual performances on the pitch against you?
Ooh, good question.
I guess it's double-sided in the sense of where did you have the worst performance, or who did you have the worst performance?
I always had tough games against Sol Campbell.
Okay.
Two big lads up against each other.
Yeah.
I remember one time playing against him when I was at Leicester, and we're both running for the ball down the wing. And when you're looking at someone, you think, "Oh, here we go."
You know what I mean?
And you know what's coming. So we just gone bang into each other, and we just both dropped on the floor.
Yeah.
Them sort of games they're tough. Martin Keown's horrible.
Yeah.
What, as in rough?
Horrible. Just horrible.
Like pinches you and stuff. I've heard.
Yeah, I heard about it. Yeah.
He's got. I'm watching the ball. We're both watching the ball, and it's down on the wing or something. So we're both watching. He's gone bang straight in my nose.
Straight.
What's going on here? Again, it's good because you get to give it back as well.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Kev from the Kop End Cast, he's asking, do you feel you and Robbie Fowler could have been as good as a partnership as you and Michael Owen?
Me and anyone could be a good partnership, to be honest with you. It's about getting an understanding. We did have good games together.
You did, yeah. From what I remember.
When you look at the League Cup final,
Mm.
you know, flick the ball in his volley, great volley.
Yeah.
Great goal.
You know, yeah. So you got times where we did have great games together. So I think even the Everton game where Maka scored at the end, it was me and Robbie up front.
Mm.
But again, we and Michael struck up a great bond from very young age.
Yeah.
And we just kept on spiraling out of control.
Okay.
It's interesting that you say that, because I remember when you were back in the England team and you were up front with Rooney, and it's again kind of funny that you said that the media kind of like didn't want you in the team and stuff, and yet you could not be displaced because your two partnership up front just worked so well together.
Worked out well, yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because when Rooney came in, I can't remember what game it was. We won the game 2-0. I set up Michael for his goal, and then I won the free kick for Beckham to score his goal. But there was an agenda to get Wayne in for the next game. So it was just, he's not good enough, shouldn't play. He's not good enough, shouldn't play. And once you keep saying that, the coach picking. Another one I'll give you. We trained on a Thursday with England. Did shape, did the pattern of play and everything with the team that was supposed to be starting.
Mm.
The next day, the newspaper posted a team that they thought should have started. The managers changed it to the team that was on the paper.
What?
Really?
Yeah.
That's just weak
Soft.
minded, man.
Kid you not.
Weak, bro.
Yeah, 100%.
Sven, yeah? Sven.
No. I wasn't. I'm not saying. I'm not saying it was, but yeah.
Nah, I'm not gonna lie. That sounds like a Steve McLaren thing to do.
Yeah, man. Probably, fam.
I won't lie.
Definitely, man.
That was definitely Steve McLaren.
All right, cool. So Dej, a friend from the Beautiful Game podcast, is asking what actually happened in the collision leading up to the 2010 World Cup that resulted in Rio Ferdinand's injury.
So we're doing shape, and a ball comes into me. I'm holding it up, and Rio's coming behind me as it's coming into me. So he's nicked the ball away and kind of, how can I say? But you know when you make a tackle, you hit the player as well, and he fall, and I fell back, but I fell back onto him, and his leg just stayed there.
It was planted.
Yeah. So he's gone into it and twisted his knee. That's what happened. So it's just a tackle.
Yeah.
It's not like I've gone and smashed him or anything like that.
Yeah. Completely innocuous.
Yeah.
It's part of the game, isn't it?
Final question.
100%. It could happen. The thing is, that could have happened in the game.
Yeah.
It just happened in training.
So how was Rio with you regarding that? Like, was he okay?
He was fine, but I'm guessing he would be gutted because again, it's going to World Cups is huge.
Yeah.
Not everyone gets to go to a World Cup, you know, and this is what I said before. Like, I went to 2, I scored in 1, you know, and not many people can say that. So I'm guessing he would have been upset. He's got a family coming out to come and watch.
Yeah.
And he stayed out, but he hasn't done what he's there to do.
Okay, cool. Final question. This is from P. Child. He's asking, he's a legit super fan. He negotiated a few kangaroos in torrential rain to watch Emile train, and he once shared the experience with me on FaceTime. He actually did, and you signed like a piece of paper with like red felt tip. Can you share any other peculiar stories dealing with fans? Because I'm not going to lie, my cousin he proper traced you.
I'm going to give you
sat
one.
there
Right?
for ages.
When I was at Leicester,
I've got one.
When I was at Leicester, right, we had this little kid. He never used to go to school. I still talk to the kid as well. And I say kid, he's in his 30s now anyway. But like he used to come and train with us, and he kick balls, go and collect the balls and all that. And one time we went in goal. No, I was just taking shots at the goal and taking free kicks. And he suddenly went in goal and started saving them. I broke his arm. I broke his arm with a shot. I swear.
Wow.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of John Anarisa on was it
Alan Smith?
Yeah, Alan Smith.
Heskey was one of those moments where you didn't know whether to be proud or ashamed of yourself. He was like,
yeah, exactly.
he's like, I hurt you, but
but I'm still I still talk to him as well.
I think that's how I feel.
Did you give him like a signed pair of boots or something to say sorry?
I did.
Okay.
All right, cool.
He comes to England games a lot.
Cool. All right, lads. Amazing podcast. Thank you so much, Emile, for coming on. We really appreciate it. Really good conversation. Guys, thank you for listening. Please make sure to follow us on Twitter, Kop End Fracas, and also subscribe on the YouTube channel, Touchline Fracas. Until next time, take care. Peace.
Peace.